Cute, cute, cute. I just wish dogs didn't bark. Forgive the ambient country sounds behind me. This is life now for me, so you might hear birds chirping outside, dogs barking, cows mooing, and I don't know what sounds buffalo make, but I'm assuming close to what cows make. So if you hear that, forgive me. It's just something I gotta live with. All right, so I remember reading articles about the rates of COVID in the US and being honestly shocked by it. The US far exceeded any country in both the actual number of cases and deaths and in percentages. Living in Thailand, I thought our percentages would approach the numbers in the US, but it was nowhere near. And the reason why I assume this is that, after all, the kingdom is much more population dense a country, and it's about the size of the state of Texas, yet it has 30% of the population of the entire continental US. And much of Thailand's residents now are concentrated these days in densely packed cities, Bangkok having over 10 million residents alone. One of the proposed reasons for such low COVID-19 numbers comparatively was honestly that people thought the authorities were being opaque about reporting deaths and stuff like that. But I don't think that this is largely consequential to the overall numbers reported in the country. Thailand was aggressive in both waves of COVID-19 and thereby locking down schools and businesses and enforcing curfews and stuff like that. And this was consequential. Vaccination programs were slow to start, but the spread of the virus was thwarted by isolation programs and masking. Teachers were given priority in free vaccinations, and at that time I was teaching and I received my first vaccination relatively early on. Despite this and the vaccination programs, I spent much of my COVID time teaching online, so they were deadly serious about us avoiding each other and not making each other sick. Now, I remember when they told us that we needed to start wearing masks. That really wasn't a big shift in our behavior. Why, you might ask? We were already wearing masks due to PM 2.5. This is a pretty serious problem in Thailand, and even in Bangkok, which is unaffected by crop burning throughout the northern parts of the kingdom, which is the reason why they experience it up north. Even in Bangkok, PM 2.5 is a serious thing. One still needs to mask up due to automobile emissions. According to the U.S. National Institutes of Health or the National Library of Medicine's webpage, which I believe is affiliated to NIM, 174 traffic policemen in Bangkok were tested, and 25% of them exhibited quote-unquote abnormal pulmonary function, i.e., early forms of lung disease. Citizens here mask up even when there are no PM 2.5 warnings, and quite honestly, I do too, considering the unsafe threshold of 50 milligrams per cubic centimeter exceeds the international standard anyway. As I've stated in a previous video, I'm kind of on a mission to clean up the garbage around the street at my mom's house. She's been living in comfortably middle-class suburbs for so long in the States that her sensibilities and taste often skew Western, and she gets a bit perturbed by the rubbish strewn about the roads here. In all honesty, I'm not crazy about it either. So for the last month, I've been cleaning up the garbage in about 3 or 4 houses down from ours. This week, I've decided to step it up and just go the entire street, since it's such a small neighborhood road anyways. My objective is more or less practical as much as aesthetic. The street is a narrow street to begin with, but the weeds and vegetations have been allowed to grow well into the street, sometimes up to 10 or 15 centimeters on both sides, encroaching into the actual driving area. This causes a street that can barely fit 2 cars, one going in either direction, to end up being a single car road really when all is said and done. So I picked up the weed whacker and for the last 4 or 5 days have been walking up and down the street, clearing at least 20 to 25 centimeters of foliage. The problem is that there is just so much of it, and there is barbed wire fencing hiding beneath some of it, that my weeder gets caught in it, slowing me down. I'm careful to leave some of the areas alone if I don't think the vegetation is obstructing the road, or if it is obviously decorative plants or whatever placed there by the neighbors. I mean, I don't want to knock down their artwork, so to speak, but From my experience, the neighbors are also pleased with what I'm doing, with many stopping by and thanking me. One neighbor even handed me a bottle of water because I was sweating. Boy, was I sweating. Being that they're kind of tickled to tears that I'm doing, and I wonder why they don't do some of it themselves, because it's really not that much work. There are neighbors who appear to be of retirement age, who keep their courtyards pristine, yet ignore the area just outside their property along the road. I find this odd. To me, the street that you're on is just as much a reflection of your property as your house is. I remember living in Germany. The German shop owners and homeowners will often go out into the streets and ensure that everything looks clean. One of the problems that I notice is that the trash pickup service here will sometimes drop items that are from the rubbish bins because the locals don't use trash bags. And they don't notice it or they ignore it. And the pickup trash is around like 1:30 a.m. in the morning. So they may not see it in the dark. And with these damn dogs everywhere barking at them, they may be more or less just in a hurry to get it over and done with, thereby leaving some of the rubbish around. And man, these dogs. Just yesterday, while weeding part of the road and picking up trash, the dogs came out to bark at me. It was 3 of them, and they're medium to large sized dogs. I'm normally afraid of dogs, believe it or not, but I was too irritated by these dogs to be afraid that day. Not today, Satan. Not today. The dogs on the street talk a good game, but if you stare at them and you stare them down, they look away and just quickly dash back to their houses and leave you alone for the most part. It's still really rude though. I mean, imagine you're walking along your neighborhood and your neighbors are shouting at you, "Hey, this is my house. This is my property. Don't try to take it from me. People live here. I'm their protector. Hey, you. I'm talking to you." Well, to me, dogs are no different. It's rude animal behavior as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I know the Thais prefer dogs, but cats don't do that. They're too wrapped up in themselves to bother you. They give you that Mariah Carey, I don't know her, tood. But I digress. Another issue I see with the trash is that they don't pick up yard clippings. For example, we took down dead branches from 3 coconut trees on the property and laid the branches beside the garbage bin. The trash service apparently doesn't handle those. They just have been ignoring them. And the vegetation out here grows so wildly and so quickly that there's bound to be lots and lots of yard clippings by the neighbors. I've noticed that all the neighbors who are farmers burn their yard clippings in these large barrels. This is almost a daily occurrence right now, so the smell of smoke is constantly in the air. I actually wake up to the sound of fires crackling next door and the smell of smoke. And driving down the street doesn't help because Khon Kaen has a large sugarcane farming industry, and harvesting and getting rid of the old crops is made easier by burning the cane. This is an illegal practice, but a common one. Local sustenance farmers are often fined like 1,000 baht for incidents, as long as they appear repentant. And the story is always the same. They didn't know that they were doing something that was wrong or illegal. I've been looking at online forums around my area of expats living abroad in the Isan area, and apparently the air quality of Khon Kaen, all the way up to north of Udon Thani, is about as bad as Chiang Mai during the burning season, and that's, well, not good. Also, it always happens during the early morning or like at night. I'm not sure what the practicality of burning it really early in the morning or after sunset is, but that seems to be typically when I see the fires and the smoke going, although it can theoretically happen all day long. Well, I guess it beats the smell of the clong, but barely. I guess it's time for me to mask up again. On a side note, as you can see here in this photo, I'm in phase 1 of my mission right now, and that's just to push the vegetation back off of the road and to pick up the garbage. The line here in pink indicates where the vegetation was growing out to and how much of the road that it took up. It also made the neighborhood look less like a neighborhood as opposed to an abandoned commune in the jungle. I wish that I could push it back past the blue line that you see here, but the blue line is where the rusty barbed wire is, and my weed whacker just kept getting caught in the wire and it just kept slowing me down. In phase 2, I hope to start working on and making it look more manicured. Right now, I'm just trying to tame that jungle. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much.